Hey everybody, I just want to give you a few tips for editing your charts in Excel. These are just some core techniques. You could be a beginner or super advanced. Hopefully some of them are going to be helpful for everyone. Let me just jump right in. So the first thing is this. When you drop a chart in Excel, typically looks something like this. Default colors, default fonts, opaque background, all that stuff. First tip, clean this thing up. So I get rid of the title. If you want a title, add it separately in a separate text box so it's easier to edit. And take out your background. When you're editing this, you just want to be working with a chart. You don't want to be working with a background and stuff too. That's going to make it more difficult. If we want to do backgrounds, we do those as a separate shape, okay? So, you got a nice clean chart. Next thing you need to start thinking about is the colors. And my next tip here is don't use the default colors. The default colors in Excel all look the same. If you want your report to look like every single other Excel report, you can use them. Otherwise, take the time to customize them a little bit. There's lots of options for customizing colors in Excel. If you click into a series in your chart, if you look over here, you have no fill, so you can make transparent ones. You have solid fill, you can do any color you want. You have gradient fills. I think gradients are really fun to make things stand out and look visually interesting. You can even do pictures, textures, and patterns. So let me show you an example of that. We have a chart here that uses tiny little images of a person as a pattern fill or as an image fill. And what you then get is this effect of little people stacking up for total user. So you can get really creative with this. The next thing is to take time to really focus on the background. So if you're going to give it a background, use shapes. Under the Insert tab in Excel, we've got a bunch of different shape options. You can drop in any of these shapes, just like in PowerPoint. Drop those shapes in and then start styling them and customizing them. And I just want to give you a sense of what you can do. All of these are just rounded rectangles styled different ways. Right? You can create so many different effects if you just get a little creative. So some of these have gradient fills, those look great. Some of them have an image fill, that can look really good as well. Next, I want to talk a little bit more about color. Color is a great way to make your work stand out, and it's a really useful tool for communicating more effectively with your data. Once you do start choosing colors, there's a few things to keep in mind. So the big one is this. You need to have contrast, and you need to not use confusing colors. So if you don't use enough contrast, you get this effect that you see here. Hard to interpret which series is which. Everything kind of looks the same. Try to use things with lots of contrast so you can clearly tell the difference between each series in your data. There's a few different ways to do this in terms of color concepts. I'm not going to dive into that, but if you want a copy of this color guide, I send it out in my newsletter. It's just one of the free templates I send out. The last thing I'd say here is just try to keep a cohesive color palette whenever possible. Sometimes people just choose lots of random colors with no rhyme nor reason to how they're selecting them, and it looks messy and it looks confusing and it doesn't add any value. So if you're using lots of colors, either A, keep it consistent like this example here, or if you're using multiple colors, use those colors as a way of categorizing your data. If you've got a green background or a turquoise background, make sure that everything with that background color is related to everything else. That way, it is actually adding to people's ability to interpret your data, not actively confusing them. I've talked about a lot of different things here, but I think the big takeaway is get a little bit creative. Play with the fill colors, play with the outline capabilities, try the different fill styles that there are. If you're doing backgrounds, use the shape menu and start building things just like you would in PowerPoint. Get a little creative with it and see what you can come up with. Because when you put it all together, you can get these really cool, really engaging, beautiful effects. And you can build stuff in Excel that you wouldn't even imagine was built in Excel. Again, if you want a copy of the newsletter, I got a link in my profile. I send out templates like this for free. And let me know what you're working on. Let me know if you have any questions. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye.